welcome to Part the Bus, the podcast that talks everything Scottish football from up and down the country. Now it is after the transfer deadline date, and myself and Ciaran Hunter, we are going to go through some of the transfers in the SPFL. So, how are we, mate?
I'm good. It's nice for me and you to be on the podcast, just us two. Nice peace and quiet away for the other two numpties. But I like it when it's me and you. Runs nice and smooth.
Indeed, the gaffer is probably still sleeping, and Ewan will be all tucked up because he's got his deliveries in the morning. So what we're going to do is we're going to start in the Premiership, and we are not going to go in alphabetical order. We're going to start at the bottom and work our way up. So first teams first is St Mirren. So they're January. They had 3 players came in, which was Richard Taylor, Thierry Small, and Tony Watt. I'll be honest, I don't know too much about 2 of them. I know quite a bit about Tony Watt. We can discuss that in a second. And out went Ethan Erehon. Eamon Brophy went on loan. Jay Henderson and Toyoshi Oshana. My fucking pronunciations are horrible. So,
let's try that.
So, Ciaran Hunter, what are we thinking about St Mirren, first of all?
Terrific window. They seem to have matched up close to about, evens for in and out. And pulling in Tony Watt for a team that's gunning for top 6 is certainly the right striker to bring in. A guy who's he's setting a record now for the amount of teams that he's played for in the Premiership. Yeah. But the guy knows the league. And you know what? I think to cut him some slack, he's done reasonably well everywhere he's went. I think he's got another chance to do well at St Mirren under Stephen Robinson, and hopefully get St Mirren off this final hurdle and finally get into the top 6.
Yeah.
Eamon Brophy going out seems a bit of a surprise. We'll obviously go on to Ross County quite soon. But if Tony Watt and Brophy had played together, would we have seen a bit of a significant difference? I would have thought that would have been maybe a decent partnership. But it's quite interesting that it seems like it's a sort of straight swap. And they've given Tony Watt the sort of step up and Eamon Brophy the step down when you look at St Mirren's position in the league and the 2 respective clubs that both those players have came from.
I would say that, obviously, I think that some of the wages, Eamon Brophy's wages have went towards Tony Watt coming in on loan as well. So, yeah, I don't think that it was ever a possibility the 2 of them would have been in the same team. What's obviously is jumping about. This is his 5th club now in the SPFL. Celtic, Hearts, Motherwell, St Johnstone. Sorry, I'm lying. It's more than that. So it's Celtic, Celtic, Hearts, St Johnstone, Motherwell, Dundee United, Mirren.
That's it.
6, aye. So there we are, 6. 6 of the 12. He's halfway there. He's in the 21st century Jim Hamilton. The one that I don't know too much about him, to be honest. I can't think of him off the top of my head, but the Ethan Erehon that he's went to Lincoln City for 300,000. I was reading yesterday, I think people are saying that he just looks like he's taken the first move he's got and he probably could do a wee bit better. Do you know too much about
him? Don't really know anything about the laddie, to be honest. Going by what some Mirren fans have said, they believe that they could have got a bigger price tag on him.
Yeah, I
don't doubt that. I believe that. I think 300 grand in this era, in this day and age, is pennies.
Yeah,
we should. I think for Scottish caliber player, you're trying to push for 400, 500k, maybe even more. But I think we don't, as you said, I don't really know too much about the guy, but I know that he's a bit of a namesake in Paisley.
Yeah, well, that's it. Young prospect, isn't he? He's capped all the way up to 21s as well. So, yeah, maybe it's a case that he could have maybe got something just a wee bit higher up the food chain. But I suppose it's all how he kicks on. Again, the other 2 boys for Waterford, and obviously Thierry Small's coming from Southampton. Not too much about them. And again, the rest of the ones that have went out, they're on loan. So I imagine they're both young laddies. So we'll then move on to St Johnstone. Nice and easy at St Johnstone, 1 in, 1 out. John Mann went out to Sligo Rovers, or Sligo I should say, and in came Zach Rudden for Dundee on loan. That's a good signing for them, isn't it?
I think so. Again, I think St Johnstone have just had to work with the budget that they've got. They There's obviously quite a lot of stuff going on in the background with the sale of the club at the moment at St Johnstone. So it was always going to be a pretty tight window for them. So I think, like you said, Andy, one in, one out. I think Zach Rudden is a decent enough signing for them. And
Yeah,
again, he's taken that step up into the Premiership. So there's a bit of pressure on that on Zach Rudden now as well. But have St Johnstone pulled in enough players to keep their heads above water in the league?
I think so.
Again, possibly, but
I think so. I think they'll be fine. I think that the squad is just that wee bit of creativity for Zach Rudden, I think, is what they need.
yeah, but possibly. I find January's nothing really to go by, but as you said, Zach Rudden could be the difference. But it really is up to the squad of players that they've had from the start of the season.
Absolutely, and there isn't too much to talk about with that. So we'll move on. The team that has actually gone on paper, you think they've made a strength into here. So it's Ross County. In's come Simon Murray, Eamon Brophy, Noah Kenny, and Josh Stones. So and out went Callum Johnson, William Mackiels went on loan, Matthew Wright on loan, young laddies, I'd imagine, if they're going down a couple of divisions. Jake Eastwood's went back to Sheffield United, and Kazim Oligibes went back to Southampton, so they've just been recalled with their clubs. But I think you're bringing in Simon Murray, who's scored goals. He scored in the Premiership, he scored in the Championship. Eamon Brophy scored goals in the Premiership as well. And obviously, Kenny's quite highly rated. He was highly rated all last summer when he was signing for Hibs. Probably just needs game time. And I couldn't tell you much about Josh Stones, but they look to have certainly, firepower-wise, certainly strengthened with two strikers that have scored goals in the Premier League before.
I think Ross County have done the best business in the league, if I'm honest, in terms of the club that they are and where they are in the league at the moment.
Yeah.
Simon Murray, again, as you said, it's an interesting one for Queen's Park because although it's a big loss for them, I feel like it could be a huge gain, and this could be the right club for Murray.
Yeah.
You know that he was hot and cold at Hibs, but he made a quite a, I think that was probably a Leanne Dempster signing that. We all know how Leanne Dempster ranted and raved about him. So making this move to Ross County might flourish his career again in the top flight. I think given that partnership with Eamon Brophy, I think already Eamon Brophy, his first game in, scored against Kelly, his old club. So it's, as I said, County look like a team that they're going to be pretty safe. And I think in terms of their out players, it's either players that they had on loan previously and their contracts came to an end for the loan, and they've also put a couple of players out there as well. So they've not really lost anyone apart from one player. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think again that speaks for itself. I think County have just strengthened in numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we'll see how it goes, obviously, with their firepower, but I think that's interesting for the second half of the season. What Malky Mackay is looking for is goals. Again, above them, as I said, it's just a quick fire to the Premier League. There's Rangers, they've got two in, two out. You've got Nicholas Raskins came in for Standard Liège, and Todd Cantwell's in for Norwich City. We talked about that the other day, but Todd Cantwell. Out's when Charlie McCanny's went to join the ever-growing Scottish contingent in Duncan Ferguson down at Forest Green Rovers. And they've sent Tony Weston out to Lothian on Cove Rangers as well. So I'm quite the Todd Cantwell one. I think he is going to be a good player. From everything I've seen seen before, I think he is going to be a good signing. I said the other day that he needs obviously not to be the only signing. He isn't, so there is a little bit less pressure on him now. At Rangers, he's going to come into that midfield. He's going to improve that midfield, I'd imagine. Didn't need much proving last night against Hearts, but certainly, as the season goes on, I think he is going to be a good signing for them. I don't know too much about Raskin, but they've been desperate for him, so we'll see. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think it leads on from the previous pod. It comes down to Scottish football fans pretending that they're experts talking about players that they've never seen and play in their lives. Yep. I don't know anything about the two guys, but I think Todd Cantwell, who he's an English lad. He's been playing down south. He's coming up. Michael Beale could be the right man to coach him. He certainly looks a decent enough player. I don't really know anything about this laddie that they've got for Standard Liège, but in terms of the players that they've put out, Charlie McCann, he was a really good prospect for the youth academy.
Yeah.
He was a laddie that was making a big name for himself. So to go to Forest Green Rovers under Duncan Ferguson, again, is it the right team? I don't know. The right manager?
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. But, and obviously Duncan Ferguson well knows a Rangers man as well. But yeah, I think from Rangers it's a decent enough window. They've brought in two players which hopefully will make an impact for them, and sort of close that gap a bit on Celtic and maybe even walk away with a cup.
Yeah. No, definitely. Definitely. We'll see how it goes with them. We'll move on to Motherwell, who've probably been the busiest in the window
Yeah.
when it comes to ins and outs. So, first of all, their ins are Jack Aitchison for Barnsley, Shane Blaney for Sligo, Riku Danzaki from
Anzaki.
Consadole Sapporo. We've got Mikel Mandron for Gillingham, Ollie Canshaw for Stockport County in a loan deal. We've got James Furlong, who's on loan for Brighton and Hove Albion, and Jonathan Abika has made his return to Scottish football on a loan from Morecambe. Now, going out, and a bit of clear out here. So we've got Scott Fox away to Cove Rangers. We've got Sondre Solheim and Solheim Johnson is away to Odds BK. Barry Maguire's out on loan to Dundee. Connor Shields is out on loan to Queen's Park. And Cian Spears is on loan to Stenhousemuir. Louis Moult, end of loan, and Matt Penny's went on his end of loan as well. I'll be honest, the only one signing that they have made that I know about, I don't want to talk about because his goal and our fucking stupidness meant that we had to be spent a year in the Championship. Although, to be fair, we've been benefited for that. But at the same time, he's the only player there that I really know anything really about. I see they've obviously jumped into the market for the Asian market with getting Rika Dazaki as well. So, what's your thoughts on Motherwell, Ciaran?
Yeah, same as you. I know Obika's a bit of a namesake in Scottish football. It's good that he's obviously back in the league, and again, it's a decent enough signing for Motherwell. I don't know anything about the other players. I think they've certainly recruited well in numbers and squad depth. Certainly going by their previous clubs they've been at, looks like they've done pretty decent to get these players in. Players out, I think Louis Moult will be a miss. I think for Motherwell, although he's been okay. His first coming at Motherwell, he was obviously terrific. He was an absolute standout. However, it leads to the question: does the influence of what's been happening in Parkhead, does that give question as to why Motherwell have had this opportunity to delve into the Asian market and obviously sign this Japanese player? Do you think that might have anything to do with the recruitment at Celtic Park, or?
I wonder if it's more along. I think it's more along the lines of they're seeing what's happening to their colleagues at Parkhead rather than them following the Celtic route.
Yeah.
So it becomes the Japanese players are looking at going, actually, we could maybe that's a route we could maybe take now because it's been successful for our colleagues, our countrymen.
Yeah.
Whereas before they maybe could have dipped into it, but it's trying to gauge that interest about who wants to come over. So that's what my thoughts on it are, because obviously we've dipped in as well. Hi, Ciaran. Bye, Ciaran. So when we've certainly dipped into the market as well. So yeah, I think it is more along the lines of they've obviously looked into it and went, we could maybe get a couple of boys here, and I think that's maybe, and the people have went, right, we'll actually go to Scotland, look at all the other Japanese players here at the moment, and that certainly helps because I'll talk about it later. The having fellow countrymen that you're near can also help you settle into the country, even if they're not playing in the same team. It certainly can if they've maybe known each other coming through ranks in under 21s and things like that. It's just having these players around can maybe help settle. So it's something that's maybe enticing them to come along. But I think we'll soon see. There is a pressure on some of these players coming through from Japan because not all of them is going to be as good as Kyogo or Hatate.
Oh my head.
Yeah, but they're not all going to be like that. So there is going to be some some players that aren't like that, like what's his name, Dewey. I know he's Chinese, but it's the same kind of thing. Is that there is going to be those kind of players that are going to come through, and the pressure is they might not be able to live with the pressure because of that, because they aren't as good as them, and the fans will be like, but look at the one Celtic have got. So I think that that's something we need to watch as well. But I don't know. I think going forward, I think Celtic will be not Celtic, Motherwell. I think they'll probably obviously they're going to be in this relegation battle as such because I think there's about 4 or 5 teams in there at the moment. So obviously they got beat last night as well. I think it's going to be a long second half of the season for them, but at the same time, I think their signings are okay. I think Abika is maybe not a second or a backup striker, but having that other option to just Van Veen will certainly help them.
Yep, agreed.
Mention the next team on this pod, we're getting a 30-minute lecture about how David Martindale cleans the toilets and sweeps the car park, but we'll move on to Livingston. So they've only 2 in. So Stephen Bradley came in for Hibernian and De Lucas is coming from FC Haka. We've had 3 out. So you've had Harrison Clark's left permanent to Gateshead. Josh Mullen has had a loan made permanent to Ayr United. And Jace Kabaya has went on loan to Queen of the South. Shock, he's helping out Martin Bartley there. But I think the boy Bradley's turned up for Hibs. I think he's really laid down a marker on how good he actually can be. And it looks like Hibs have actually had a wee bit of a mare by letting him go.
Yeah, I think this seems to be working both ways for Livy. I think Stephen Bradley could be a decent signing for Livy again. They sit in 4th place at the moment. It looks like they're going to be quite comfortable in that position. The players that they've went out. I mean, Josh Mullen's a terrific signing for Ayr, and I think that will only strengthen them in their charge for promotion as well. And then obviously, Andy, as you pointed out, Marvin Bartley signing, David Martindale helping out as well.
Yes.
I think Livy have done okay. I think Livy are quite like St Johnstone in a way, where they've not really made much noise. They've signed maybe maybe enough player just to see them over the finish line. I think Livy, that 4th place is in their grasp now. So yeah, for me, it's not a star-studded window, but I think, as I said, they might have just done enough in signing Stephen Bradley.
Yeah, I think a wee bit creativity for them as well. I think that's maybe what we're a wee bit looking for as well, because it has been. They are known for being quite stodgy, Livingston, I would say. But yeah, he looked okay. Well, we watched him last week, obviously. He looked okay when he came in, so he came against us. So, yeah, we'll move on. Next team. Some call them Ayrshire finest. I just call them Kilmarnock. So, I'll let you talk us through them, mate.
I think in terms of all 12 teams in the league, I've given my opinion on what team's done the best, and now I'm going to talk about the team that's done the worst, and unfortunately that is my club, and that is Kelly. We have obviously had a bit of a clear out this window. I think it's maybe came a bit too early, right in before the summer. I think it took all of us by surprise that Lafferty was away in the final hours of the window, which left us with no time to bring in a replacement, which was so desperately needed. Obviously, we signed Kyle Vassell to start the window, who was another striker. He came in alongside, Christian Deutsch. Him and Christian Deutsch played up front together last night. I could say that between the two of them, getting 18 shots away together and getting 0 goals, that more or less summed it up, and I think it could be a pathway for the next 5 months. But as I said, we will see how it comes. Luke Chambers, 18-year-old laddie on loan from Liverpool until the end of the season, looks a player. Because he knows how to pick out a pass. He started last night, he got subbed off halfway through the second half, I think, if I remember right. But yeah, he looks a really good player. Still a kid as well, so he's grown into a game. But no, I think the players that we've got rid of, I think it was only a matter of time before Ollie Shaw was away. I think, for a guy who was our top goal scorer last season, he still took quite a lot of flack for Kelly fans because there was a lot of games where he just couldn't finish his dinner.
Yeah.
So Barnsley seems like quite a jump
Quite a big
to go
jump.
to playing very well in the Scottish Championship and scoring goals to then jumping into Barnsley, a bigger sort of tougher league, might add, with more competitive games. Dylan McGowan goes, not really surprised. Kyle Connell's away, East Coast Pride. But yeah, obviously the big shocker is Kyle Lafferty, unfortunately, which hasn't left us with a consistently good striker.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, very poor. We've not recruited well. This window was massive for us, albeit we did go and beat United 1-0 last night, which was a huge win. But we've still got about 15 games to go.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Was like he's now down to the bare bones striker way. So unless McInnes has got ideas on maybe bringing someone in that's maybe unattached at the moment,
yeah,
he's hard to pin down to the bare bones because you can understand maybe if you bring Vassal in, you can maybe let Shaw go, for example. Now I don't know what Vassal's like, to be honest, but you can maybe let Shaw go. You can maybe let Lafferty go if he really wants to go. But letting them both go and leaving yourself with two strikers, one of them's Christian Doidge, who's more of a facilitator than a striker, would you say?
Yeah, no, I don't think the guy's a striker. I don't think the guy's a goal scorer, but the last night he was an engine up front. He was running at defence. He was causing a lot of problems. See if you actually stick him in as a centre forward or even centre attacking midfield. I think he'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
Guy knows how to pick out a pass, but he's not a goal scorer.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, that we'll see. I don't know. I think you shot yourselves in the foot big time on that one, but we'll see. It'll be interesting to find out why Lafferty actually left as well.
Yeah, McInnes gave a pretty, in his post-match interview last night, he was obviously asked about it. He more or less commented on the fact that he still has to keep in touch with Lafferty and, there's no bad blood. So there's obviously been something in the background, which as fans we're not getting let onto at the moment. But I'm sure that will all come out at the end at some point.
I think it'll be determined on where his next move is as well and how quickly, I think, will be more than anything else. But
we'll find out when he signs for Darvel in the next few minutes.
Well, that's the rumour. Then we will go to next Hibernian. So Hibernian have had 3 in. We've had James Jego. He's came in from Cass Upin. We've got CJ Egan Riley, who's coming from Burnley on loan. And Matthew Hope, who's coming from Middlesbrough on loan. Now, outgoings at Easter Road. Now, they had said that they were going to have a big clear out. So here we've got Ryan Porteous, who was always destined to go, wasn't he? 300,000 for Watford because of the pre-contract that he could have signed somewhere else. Demi Mitchell, who's with Exeter City. You've got Stephen Bradley, who went to Livingston. You've got Kevin Dabrowski, who's went to Queen of the South on loan. You've got Nolan Kenny, who's went to Ross County. We've talked about him earlier. You've got Ellis Merkerson at Sparta Rotterdam on loan. You've got Mohamedou Bajong, who's basically went back to Rainbow FC. And you've had Ryan Schofield, who's on Huddersfield Town. He's went back out. He's obviously his loan has ended as well. So there is quite a lot out. There's only 3 in. I would imagine, based on the players that they have, now they have got Michael Devlin training with them as well, so that would be quite a good signing if that comes through. They still seem a wee bit short. Especially, I mean, they've got a striker in. Nisbet's got an injury. We don't know how badly that is because he limped off against Ross County. Still seem a wee bit short up front. If Nisbet's going to be out for some length of time, they probably could do that extra centre half, but if they get him in, probably could still do another defender maybe. But I think they've set out to do what they wanted to do. They've had their clear out. We're going to lose Porteous anyway, and they've managed to keep Kevin Nisbet at least to the summer.
Yeah, no, I think the Hibs again of but like ourselves, they've had a clear out in January. Has it came at the right time for them though? As you said, it feels like they've kind of left themselves short. They're losing bigger players like Ryan Porcher. So I believe it's going to be a big miss for them. I think they'll start to realise that as game goes on. Stephen Bradley, who's a technically good player as well, has went to Livy, as we've obviously just spoke about.
Yep.
Kevin Nisbet, if he had went this January, I would have probably turned around and went, wow, that's a bit of a disaster for Hibs. Considering when you look at Lee Johnson's record as of recent, and especially, obviously, I mean, the Aberdeen game, with all due respect, I don't think is much to go by, given we know the problems that have been up at Pittodrie.
Yeah.
But players that they've recruited in, I don't know who the three players are. I've never heard of them. And it's another case of just seeing how these guys get on.
Yeah, I think Jago played against us, and I think he done all right. He was tidy enough in the midfield for them, to be honest. But again, it's one of them. It's his first game. He's just turned up in the country. It's a derby game, so you don't know how he's going to be. Again, the boys for Burnley, I'm not too sure. I don't know. I think he came off the bench the other night for them. But the boy Hope from Middlesbrough, I mean, the boy's got 8 caps for America now.
All right, okay.
So he has got 8 caps. So he's an international. So he has played for them. And America aren't a diddy side, as maybe as they have maybe been in the past and stuff. So like 8 caps for America. He's obviously had something about him. I think he scored for America as well. Just go and find his record. But so he has got something about him. It's how he adapts up to life up here. Obviously, it's a different game up here. So how he adapts to that is he going to be the main striker? Although, to be fair, I think Johan has found his scoring boots as well for them. But no, I think it can be okay. I think if they get Michael Devlin, I think that would be certainly massive for Hibs. Definitely for them. 2 seconds. I'm just going to find the boys' record for America. So 8 caps, 1 goal. And it was part of the CONCACAF Gold Cup winning team.
All right. I mean, like you said, Andy, the USA football's very developing and it's moving fast in the MLS. You know, as the league's getting bigger, it's getting a lot more attraction financially as well. But you consider the fact that the sports that they're competing with over there, when they've already got like baseball and NFL. So, yeah, okay, this guy's had 8 caps for America, things like that. Will he come on and make an impact in Scotland? Well, we'll wait and see. But he's obviously something if he's doing that. You know what I mean? Considering the caliber of the player that America are producing.
Yeah.
But if we are finished talking about Hibs, and are we?
Yeah.
Are we? I would like to introduce this one because Andy gave me the pleasure of mouthing off about Kelly. So we're going to move over to Tynecastle and we're going to give it to our Jambo expert, Andy. So, Andy, you have Yutaro Oda, who the Japanese player that you've brought in. We'll obviously touch on that, talk about the Japanese market, as we already have spoke about. James Hill from Bournemouth on loan, and Garen Cole. Is that right? Cole from
Garen Cole
from Newcastle United. We aren't we aren't international experts, as you can see. Out for Hearts is Ewan Henderson to Queen's Park on loan, Scott McGill to Raith Rovers on loan, and Connor Smith to Accies on loan. So it's 3 in, 3 out. So nice, even split. And given Hearts this season, given where you are in the league, do you think those players are going to make much of a difference? The ones that have came in, the ones that have disappeared?
So we'll go with the ones that have disappeared. So you've got Hendo, he's went to Queen's Park. It's caused a wee bit of controversy. He's just been being at Queen's Park, but that's his contract done. I think Scott McGill, I can't think if he's got a year left or not, but I think he'll wanted to go out and play on loan rather than sit with the B team there. And Connor Smith, he's got 6 months left. I would have kept him. I think he could have offered something, especially in the midfield. But I think his time's up as well. So the 3 young laddies out on loan, they don't make much of a difference. So you've brought in Oda. He's came over from Japan. He's got a little bit of reputation. His reputation isn't like the Celtic boys. But you know what? He looked okay. He should have probably scored against Livingston. But yeah, it looked okay. You've got James Hill, a centre half. We definitely needed a centre half. Boy looks a business, to be honest. Looks good enough. I think we found out yesterday that right wing back isn't his spot, but at centre half, I think, or he's been the right of the back three. He's looked outstanding. He's got a really good long throw, so he's certainly there for squad depth. And you've got Grant Cool, who's come up for Newcastle. Boy was at the World Cup with Australia. He's came up here to learn about physicality, but I also think, and that's what I was touching on with some of the Japanese players as well, is that he's come up here to integrate into the UK because he's come to a team with 3 international teammates. So I think that's why he's here, because it lets him integrate with his teammates. He's got the 3 players here. He's got Mui, he's an hour away. He's got Bacchus. He's got, who's the boy at Dundee United? So there's all these players within an hour or so of him that he's played with internationally, or he's got connections with as well to help him settle in the UK. The boy's lightning. He is absolutely lightning. His problem is up here is that he is about 5'6" and he's about 5 stone soaking wet.
Right, okay.
So, like yesterday, and I don't want to talk about what I'll be here for fucking hours if I'll talk about that midfield, but we decided we were going to play him in centre midfield yesterday. And your guess is as good as mine because he was just absolutely, it was anonymous because that's not his game. Right. He's absolutely, it's not his game. His game is basically, is being quick, he's running forward. His first introduction at Tynecastle, he broke and he passed it to Humphreys, and Humphreys made an absolute James Hunt of it. He comes off the bench on Sunday there against Livingston, he breaks through, he should have scored. He hits at the goalkeeper, but he generally should have scored because his quickness and getting in behind. He's a quick player. He's got talent. It's whether we get the best of him. The problem we've got as well is that how well Janelli's been playing. So it is about squad depth. It's just changing them over. You know what? It's what we need for the running. It's what we need. Games are going to come. Obviously, we've got Dundee United on Saturday and the cup game, things like that. A wee bit of cup run. Probably could have done it at the start of the season, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with the 3 we've got. Yeah, we tried to get Callum Patterson. I don't think that Sheffield Wednesday just didn't want to sell him. We're going to try and get him on a pre-contract, I think. Interestingly, we'll see if there's anything out there in the free market, because we've dabbled in the free market before. If there's anything, we might pick up with that. But yeah, no, I'm pretty happy with our business, to be honest. I think that we've done well. We've done it early. We weren't scrambling about as other teams were. Obviously, we've stopped talking about Hibs, and they were scrambling a bit earlier. I mean, I think there's a team that we'll talk about at the end. They were quite basically panic buying as well. So, yeah, I think that to me, it's been a good window. It's been organised. It's absolutely terrible being a fan of a club that's organised. But yeah, we'll bring back Romanoff with 11 signings on deadline day and all this nonsense, just for the pure excitement. But we're talking about a team that basically had a little or no excitement for the whole fucking January. Is Dundee United.
Yeah.
They brought one player in.
Yeah. And half the squad away.
Yes. So they've brought one player, Loic Anya. Am I saying that right, do you think?
Possibly.
Okay. And out went Logan Chalmers on loan, Flynn Duffy on loan. Obviously, he's young, so he's obviously went down the leagues. You've got Carl John Eriksson. He's went to Norway, I'd imagine, with the team name. Declan Glass is away back to Gulf Rangers. You've got Archie Meekison's away to Falkirk on loan. Finn Robson on loan to Arbroath. Darren Watson's Forfar, and Tony Watt they've loaned out to St Mirren. So, yes, there's been quite the turnover at Dundee United, just even on the outdoor. But have they left themselves short? You talked about yous leaving yourself short. Have they left themselves short?
Well, I think
as much as I think Tony Watt's had issues, right? I think there's been issues with Tony Watt. But having him even on the bench, or that option of Tony Watt there, is surely better than not having Tony Watt at all and having Tony Watt at St Mirren. Yeah, because they're not in the same. You aren't in the same battle, because St Mirren are generally in a top 6 battle, and they're in a relegation battle. So it's not as if they're taking points off teams around them and can't play against them. Is that they're not even in the same battle at all. I don't get it. What I would say is the boy they've brought in is a defender as well. So it's not saying that they've let the goalkeeper go, they've let Tony Watt go, and they've brought in a defender. They've let Declan Glass go. I don't know what they've done to this boy at all, because he looked an absolute baller. And now he's on another loan deal. somewhere else. He's not getting a sniff. I don't know what's going on at Dundee United. Is it money?
Well, last night sort of summed it up for me in terms of why I still think we could maybe have just had a worse window than United. The second half, they made 2 subs.
Yeah.
And they were able to bring on Craig Sibbald and Peter Pollitt off the bench. So, again, they still have strength within their squad. Might not have the numbers, but they certainly have the strength and experience. You then talk about the likes, obviously, Stephen Fletcher's playing on the park, Charlie McGrew's on the park. Right, they've got a good team on paper, but things for United and at Tannadice just have not clicked together from the start of the season, and it's just a club that hit the self-destruct button.
Yeah.
I think for them, this is a positive thing. They've needed this clear out. I think Declan Glass, I agree with Andy, he's another one of these sort of, I mean, Ryan Gould's a very bad example because Ryan Gould's actually went to Portugal and made a name for himself over there and became very, very good. But I think Declan Glass just maybe needs something like that. He needs maybe something like a Ryan Gold move away, start again, because United have ruined them. And again, when he came to Kelly, he was decent. He was good. You know what I mean? He was a really good player. Yeah. But it just flashes of quality that have been let go. The player that they've brought in, again, it's a loan signing. It's not a permanent deal. It's a signing that tells me they're grinding on until the summer, until they can totally transform the club, whether that be if they're a Championship club or a Premiership club.
Yeah.
Is it down to money? Well, in the game last night, United fans had a banner in protest to their chairman. So, and basically in contrast of how this windows went as well.
Yeah.
So, again, that pretty much tells you the feelings around Tannadice and the United fans at the moment. I just find this whole season's been a bit of a disaster for them, and I find this window pretty much sums it up. But as I say, I feel like this is what they probably needed. I still believe that they have the strength in the squad, but I think United could possibly be too late. I mean, I still think there's obviously still a battle at the bottom of the table between 4 clubs. United are well and truly in that themselves. I don't know. It's one of these ones I think we'll have to see how it goes. But I still think on paper, they have the stronger squad and the better players. So it's going to be down to experience what gets them through. Tony Watt, great signing for St Mirren. Very strange that he's went from and made the move up. Like he's went from a team that's fighting relegation up to a team that's in the top 6.
Yeah.
So it's strange. It's a really weird one. Has Tony Watt's agent been at the back of that, pulling every string that he can, saying this is a player that needs to stay at a certain level and a certain quality, and with a loan signing like that, it looks as if Tony Watt's made up his mind that he's out the door at the summer.
Yes, I think
St Mirren obviously just can't afford to pay the transfer fee.
I think there's issues behind the scenes there. Absolutely issues behind the scenes. But again, it wouldn't be a transfer window really without Tony Watt moving. So,
to a Premiership club.
Well, that's it. I think it's just moving in general, isn't it? He used to move every 6 months. So, well, talking to Tony Watt, we'll go to his former team now. They're pretty balanced as well, to be honest. They've had 3 in and 4 out. So they have had Alistair Johnson's come in from Montreal. They've had Oh Hyun Gai from Suwon Samsung Blue Wings. We've had Yuki Kobayashi from foreign actually, from Vissel Kobe, and Tomoki Iwata from Yokohama Marinos, and that's a loan deal. And out has went Juranovic to Union Berlin. You've had Johnny Kenny, Shamrock Rovers on loan. You've had Oliver Aldegaard on loan to Ruben Kazan, and Morishent has went back to Laurent. Being honest, I couldn't tell you too much about most of these boys. Johnson looked okay from what I've seen of him. I've not seen too much of the other ones yet, to be perfectly fair. You're losing Juranovic. It's a little bit of loss to other teams, but in this league with Celtic, it's probably not too big a loss for them, to be honest, with the players that they've got there. Taylor, Ralston, for example, who are more than able just to deputise as well. So, yeah, I think Celtic just look Celtic, to be honest, and they've turned a profit over doing it. So,
Yeah, no, I think you're right. They couldn't have sold Juranovic at a better time. Obviously, just off the back of the World Cup, for a player who did have a really good run in the World Cup as well. They've sold him for a decent price. They've managed to bring in Alistair Johnson, who looks, a decent enough signing as well. So they've still got about 3.5. Is my maths correct there? 3.5, 4.5 million. Aye. It's not bad. Obviously, they've signed the Aj Postacoglu's used his expertise in the Asian market more so the sort of the J League as well, and they've signed that laddie for Korea. So yeah, again, we'll see what these players. If there's anything to go by from the players that he's signed previous, as we've already said, Kyogo, Maeda, and Atai, then it looks as if Celtic are just going to totally run away with it now, from now to the end of the season.
yeah,
If these players are match up to what we've already seen from the Asian market, but yeah, I think it's actually a very good January window for Celtic. They've brought in players at the right time. They sold players at the right time. So fair play to them. Good bit of business for the club.
yeah, that's fine. And well, last but not least, it's not often they're last in these lists. It's Aberdeen, probably the biggest basket case at the moment of a club, and especially over the last week, because, well, being honest, there wasn't that much going, and then suddenly everything happened. So, first of all, went out was Christian Ramirez. He went to Columbus Crew. You've got Bezalun, went to Excelsior on loan. Jack Milne to Kelty Hearts. Aaron Reid on loan to Elgin. Anthony Stewart, which is our captain, went on loan on the last day to Milton Keynes Dons. And in came Angus MacDonald, Swindon Town. Aaron Reid for Turriff United, so that's obviously one for the future. They've got Jay Gorter from Ajax. You've got Dillian Markande from Blackburn Rovers on loan. You've got Misolovic. He was at the start of the window on loan from Zelina. You've got Matty Pollock from Watford on loan, and Graham Shinney, as we spoke about already, he's on loan for Wigan. Maybe, I don't know if it's just the way that Aberdeen are and the way that they've been, that it's just getting rid of Bezalon and Anthony Stewart on the last day of the transfer window and bringing a couple of boys in. It felt like they were just ripping things up to start again. But Stewart's only been there since the summer, and he's out the door already. Now, he's not been great, but it doesn't look like they've strengthened that much either. Because once the one centre half came in and one defender came out, one went out, one came in. So I don't know. I don't know how Aberdeen are going to do. I don't know too much about most of these players. Graham Shinney's obviously going to be should be a good addition. I've heard of Angus MacDonald before, but I don't know too much about him. And yeah, Misolovic didn't look that great for the twice I've seen him. So
It's when does your captain ever go on loan halfway through the season?
when you're at, well, that's funny enough. That's our second captain in 2 years that have basically jumped ship in January after Scott Brown.
After Scott Brown, yeah, going down to Fleetwood. It's I don't know. I think it pretty much just sums up, doesn't it?
So Gorter's a goalkeeper. So that's obviously because Joe Lewis has been pretty dug meat, to be honest.
Yeah. I think Aberdeen need more than a January window to sort things out.
Oh,
they need obviously a manager that's going to have a bit of ball. Unfortunately, Duncan Ferguson's already went to Forest Green Rovers, but I feel like they could have maybe done that a personality like that. There's a lot of big egos, and that are getting chucked about that dressing room. It's always been a bit of a thing at Pittodrie. However, they had the calibre of player to back it up under McInnes and all that time. I think Graham Shinney was a bit of a recall, the sort of Aberdeen Spirit signing.
Yeah.
I think we spoke about it in the last podcast. He's not done much since he came back. He sat on the bench against Darvel. It was just strange moves. Christian Ramirez will be a big loss for them. He came in, he looked an excellent player, excellent signing. But I think it's probably a good move for him, and he's got out of the club at the right time before his career gets dragged down. So that's the way it's going at Pittodrie at the minute. But as I said, yeah, it's near enough another 50-50. Aaron Reid from Turriff, I seen him play at the start of the season, funnily enough, around about September, October time. Huge jump for the laddie. Quite young. I think he's only 17, 18. He'll be another young prospect that I think Aberdeen are looking at keeping under their wing. He looks a player. Yeah, really physical, tough player. A typical Aberdeen player, really. So I don't know, will he get a run in the first team? We'll wait and see. But it might be a bit early for that. But no, as I said, I think the January window sums it up when you look at those names that have went out. And it's they're really going to just have to stick out to the end of the season, because that's the window's not enough for them.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So no, that's been it. That's been your 12 Premier League teams. So we'll just leave that here, because nobody wants to sit and listen to us go through anything else. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you for listening. We've been part of the bus. Please check out all our back catalogue on all our streaming sites. Go and like and subscribe on YouTube, and you'll never miss anything that we are going to do. So really, it's just a bye for me.
It's a bye for me.